Perfect. Now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with everybody.
That's a nice tie you got on there, buddy.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. This is one of the authentic Wise Guys in Ties t-shirts. So you can look fancy without having to dress up in a suit. It comes in handy in the heat. If you guys need one of these for, formal events, birthday parties, grandma's birthday, or just dinner out with the family, feel free to send us a message. We can get you set up with one of those. All right. So today we are going into how to build business credit. Now, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, we had a question come in. Can a side hustle build business credit?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any business can build business credit. And even if you're in the startup stages of setting up a business, it can build business credit, even pre-revenue. So your side hustle ultimately is a business. And as your business grows, then you're going to have different levels of, you know, uh, uh, credibility as you go along. But many side hustles, in order to take advantage of a lot of tax benefits and also to offset some of your, if you have earned wages through a W-2, you can offset some of your tax liability that way. Yeah, there's so many different things. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today, because when you want to build business credit, you have to have some type of business. Now, truly to build business credit separate from yourself, because that's also what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about building credit for a business that is separate from your personal credit. So whether you just don't want to involve your personal credit, or maybe your personal credit isn't excellent, usually we're looking for over 680, or you want to use it, but you also want to have a way of getting out of using it. So for example, you can use your good personal credit to jumpstart funding for your business, but then having a plan to move away from that. And so the key is, in order to get funding, you're either going to need personal credit or business credit. And so as we go through this process, you want to make sure that your business is set the right way. You can just basically declare that you're in business and you're in business. But to truly start building business credit, you're going to need to create a separate legal entity. Now, this is what we're going to be talking about today, is what do you actually need to have in place when you set up that legal entity. What I'm going to use today to demonstrate or to talk about building business credit is our Wise Guys and Ties Business Credit Builder program. And the first step in that program is what we're going to go into depth today on. And that is the credibility aspect of your business. Because in order to get funding, in order to get lines of credit, to get loans, to get credit cards, to access capital, you need to be credible. Nobody wants to lend money to a business that they don't think is serious about being in business. And so the very first thing that you're going to think about is your business name. So if you already have a business, then you've obviously put the time in already and thought about your name. If you don't have a business yet, then you need to spend some time thinking about it. Wise Guys and Ties, I remember when Joseph and I were sitting around the office really trying to figure out what we were going to be calling this new business. I think we went through, I don't know, maybe 100 different options before we settled on Wise Guys and Ties. And then the next thing, after we found the name that we wanted, or we thought of the name we wanted, we needed to go and check the local. We're in Arizona, so we had to go to the Corporation Commission. Now, depending on where you're at, you may not have a Corporation Commission. You may only have the Secretary of State, but whatever state you're going to be filing in, you need to go and see if somebody else is using that name. And so, for example, if we just now wanted to be like, okay, we want to name our business Wise Guys, then we would search for that. And then all of a sudden we would see there's all these Wise Guys businesses. Oh no, somebody's already using Wise Guys and Ties.
Hey, Rick,
Uh, yes.
are you sharing your screen?
Yeah, I asked you if you're able to see my screen. You aren't able to see it?
I just see you.
Oh. Oh, I totally thought I asked if you're able to see my screen. All right.
I apologize. I had to step away.
All right. No, I guess I am not sharing my screen then. Yeah, I have been showing you guys my screen. So let's go back and show you what I'm looking at. Let's see here. Okay, let's backtrack just a little bit. All right. So this
There you
is
go.
our
I
wise.
can see your screen now.
Perfect. Excellent. All right. So this is the Wise Guys and Ties system. And I'm going to just jump back just a little bit here. And I'm going to show you that these are the steps that we're going to be covering today. There's business name, business address, business entity, the EIN number, business phone number, 411 listing, website and email address, business license, business bank account, and merchant account. So we're going to briefly touch base on all these because these are the steps you need to cover in order to have a credible business. So as we were talking about business name, the Wise Guys and Ties, and as it took time for us to come up with that name, in our system, it's really easy to follow where you need to go. But depending on the state you live in, like I said, Joseph and I, we live in Arizona, so it takes you right to the Corporation Commission. Some states go to a Secretary of State, but then you can search to see if anybody else is using that business name. So there's a lot of Wise Guys things, but there's only, if I wanted to now start a business saying Wise Guys and Ties, oh, somebody's already using that. So I couldn't really use that. Once you come up with a business name, you need to figure out if anybody else is using that name. Second, if it's a name that could be trademarked. So those are some important things to think about. Now we do have some resources in here and some training videos on why that's important. But after you come up with a good name, over here on the right-hand side, you'll see that these sub-steps in business credibility. Now let's talk a little bit about business address. You're going to need a good location for your business. Now, if you're just starting out and you don't have the money or the funds or the resources, or it just doesn't make sense for you to actually go out and get a full office, then you need to also figure out what a good address is, how you could give an office address without having to go through the process of a build out. So in order to have a strong business foundation, your business should use a physical business address. Most lenders prefer that you have a business address, but in a bind, you can use your residential address. Now, it's very, very important to not use a PO box for your business address. Many lenders will see this as a high-risk business. This also is UPS stores. Even though it doesn't say PO box, they still know that it's a post office box. So mailbox, etc. Any type of mail shipping location that has post office or has mailboxes, they will see that as a very high risk. If you think about it from the perspective, if you wanted to lend somebody money, you want to know where they're located. And if they're only going to give you their mailbox or their post office box, that's not enough security for you. What's most important that your business address shows the same on all of your business documentations and records. So your bank has that address. If you have it on your website, an address, you need to have that. If you have the filings with the Secretary of State, with the IRS, everywhere that your business has information done at any of the credit reporting agencies, that it matches across the board. Now we actually have just used some of these resources here with success. No direct affiliation, but there are different networks of virtual offices that you can find, local virtual offices. Now you may be asking, what is a virtual office? A virtual office is a company that rents out office space. Then inside that office, they now break up their individual offices into rentable space. So they could have a receptionist and then maybe 10 or 12 offices in that building, and they will rent out each office to a different business. They usually keep a conference room and at least 1 or 2 offices open to be used on the hourly basis. So you could have mail service there where it's just the address you use to receive your mail, and then the option, if you ever needed to bring a client over to sit down at a professional location, you could rent an office by the hour. Some of these are as cheap as $10 an hour to use one of the offices. And for having them receive your packages or your mail, I've seen it usually as cheap as $30, but it's usually a la carte services. And so you only have to pay for really what you need. And that is way better than necessarily building out a full office. Eventually, if your business is big enough, then you will probably need to move to a bigger office, but having business credit will help you do that. After you have a good business address, you want to move on to figuring out what type of business entity you're going to be. Oops, looks like I just got logged out. Go ahead and log in again. All right, give me 1 second here, folks. And going to go back over to building my business credit, and then business credibility, and business entity. So it's very easy. So if you ever, you can stop and continue and then get back and continue from where you left off. So if we're going to set up a business entity, you got to figure out, if you look at the different entity types here, you could be an S corporation, a C corporation, an LLC, an LLP, a partnership, a sole proprietor, nonprofit. Now, in order to really build business credit, you're going to need to move beyond the sole proprietor status and create some type of legal entity. And that's also important if you want to separate yourself from your business credit, because in order to separate yourself, you need to have that separate legal entity, which is very, very important. Now, as you're going through our system, you would be keeping track of everything, because you might be asking yourself, well, what do we do at the Wise Guys and Ties? At Wise Guys and Ties, we help you build business credit. We'll teach you how to actually go out and do it yourself. But if you need help streamlining the process, because if you go out and build business credit on your own, it might take you 18 months, 24 months. It just depends. But working with the Wise Guys and Ties, we have a system in place where to get it done in 6 to 12 months, where you have access to $50,000 or more in business lines of credit. But we're going to go through the process of what you need to do to set up your business here. Now, so once you figure out what type of entity, and I always recommend you consult with a tax professional, or if you have just some general questions. Joseph and we're not attorneys, or we're not CPAs, but you can always schedule a free 30-minute consultation with us. Let us know what you're doing, and then from one entrepreneur to another, we could give you kind of what would we do type of situation, and then maybe that will give you, some more clarity when you do go speak with an attorney or you go speak with your CPA. That's really what we're here to help you do. After you figure out what type of entity, next, you're going to want to get your EIN number. Now, if you're using an attorney, which I always recommend you use an attorney to set up your business, or you're going to do it yourself and go through LegalZoom or something like that, either way, you're going to need to get an EIN number. If you're working with an attorney, they're going to take care of that for you. Once you have your EIN number, and you can click here to set up your EIN number if you're going to be doing it yourself, or if you have an attorney involved, they're going to take care of that for you. But the EIN number is what is required for business entities in the United States. This is the employer identification number. Very similar to your social security number, this works as the tax ID number. And that is what we're actually going to be building business credit on, is that EIN number. All right, so after we have the EIN number and your business is getting filed and it's getting set up, next, we need to have a good business phone number. A good business phone number is not your cell phone. It is not a Google Voice number. It is not any type of free number that you can find online. You're going to actually need to spend money on your business line. Now, this could be through your internet provider, or a lot of times what many businesses do is they will go and set up a VoIP, or a voice over internet protocol number, where it's a phone number that could be forwarded to an answering service. It could be forwarded just to your cell phone, or you could just set up a auto attendant, which is, it's a voicemail box. I'm sure you get them all the time when you call a business. It says, hi, you've reached this business, press 1 to speak with the operator, press 2 for accounting, press 3, blah, 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 blah. And each of those mailboxes can be set up to forward to a different cell phone number, or they all go to one mailbox. And maybe if it's just you, they could all just go to that one cell phone. But you're able to present yourself in a way that you're a big business, you're a Walmart when you're just a little startup. So you could go over to Vonage, check out some of their prices on phone numbers, or Ring Central. The key to having a good business phone number is that it has the ability to be, 1, registered to your business, and 2, it can be listed in the National 411 directory. It is absolutely crucial for your success that your business number is listed in the National 411 directory. So you got to double check that and make sure. And you can check that by dialing your area code 555-1212. And depending on your phone carrier, there may be certain phone charges that apply to that. Next, we are going to be setting up websites and email addresses. So everything that we talk about, this is how you're going to be a legitimate business. These things are not going to just create legitimacy for lenders. It's going to also be beneficial for your clients, your customers. We deal with a lot of people who are in the logistics and trucking industry. We have a lot of real estate investors, and usually you're looking at some large amount, some large number transactions, large amount transactions. So in real estate, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or if you're shipping or doing some type of transportation, I mean, these could be, tens of thousands of dollars in these contracts for shipping. But the key is, your clients, your customers are going to look at your business much different than they look at somebody else. If your business information has an office address, it has, admin at yourbusiness.com, it has all these official, you have an 800 number versus somebody else who has, it looks like a home address or a PO box, and they're using their Google or their Gmail email account, and they have like a cell phone number on there. Subconsciously, your clients are going to see your business much more credible and the person that they should be doing business with, because you're established. Now, so the question is, does your business have a website and a good email address? If you don't have a good email address, then you need to go out and get one. And so when I say a good email address, it's not yourbusiness@gmail. We want to stay away from any of these free services, because when we're looking at getting funds for a business, the biggest obstacle is the underwriter. And the underwriter is simply a computer algorithm that runs cross checks and references public data, and corresponds that with what information you have on your application. As it does this, it's preventing fraud. Majority of applications are fraudulent in one way, shape, or another. There's a lot of people out there. It's very easy to set up a business and start to apply for funding. The computer's job is to stop those applications from going through. And they're not going to tell you why you got denied. They're just going to say, not enough credit, basically, or insufficient time in business. There's some just generic terms, and it could be one of these things. It could be you didn't have a good business name. It could be you're using a home address. It could be you had a Google Voice phone number, or you're using a personal cell phone number. It could be that you're using a Gmail email account. It could be a number one of these things. But so as you go through the process of being credible, it's very important that you have all these little boxes checked. So website, you don't necessarily need a website, but is a huge aspect of credibility. Now, what you do need is the domain name. Like here's our website, wiseguysandties.com. You need that domain name so you can use it for your email addresses. And so we have all sorts of email addresses. There's like admin@wiseguysandties.com. There's business credit at Wise Guys and Ties, and like Joseph at Wise Guys, Ray at Wise Guys. There's all these different, we have all these different professional email addresses, which is very important. And you can have that even before your website is set up. We have several businesses that don't actually have websites because they're just real estate holding companies. So in that case, we do own the domain names, but all we use is a service for the email address. And that could be really inexpensive through GoDaddy or actually Google hosts business emails. They charge usually around $5 a month, or if you pay for the year, you can get it a little bit cheaper. But we have some resources here if you need help setting up a website or email address. And then after you get you get your domain name, you get your email address set up, next you're going to want to look at business licensing. So the business that you're in may not require a specific license, but there is always a license that you can get in your state, your city, your county, just to do business. Now, like I said, it may not be required, but you can go out there and get some of these optional licensing, and it's a huge aspect of credibility. the difference in a business with a license versus without a license could be, the one without a license is getting approved for $100 credit line. The one with a license is getting 2,000. So right there, lenders love looking at, a business that has the filed license. And so on each section, we have references here. This is going to take you right over to applying for licenses and permits from the Small Business Administration. But our entire system is designed to really make it easy on you. If you need some assistance, there's city applications. That's a site that kind of can look exactly in your city and state and go through the process of getting those license. Really, really easy to do. Next, after you're at this stage, now you want to go through this in this order, because going through it in this order is going to prevent you from having to go back and correct things later. It's going to also save you so much time and money. After we are at this point, moving on to step 1.8, we next are going to need to set up a business bank account. Now, up to this point, if you have all of these things in place, you have the address, you have the email, you have the phone number, these are going to be required when you set up the business bank account. And I ran into issues with one of my first businesses because I was using a UPS store. They wanted to know where I was. They wanted to have my home address on file. And if I had gone through the process the right way the first time, I wouldn't have so many hiccups, and it would have taken a lot less time than it actually ended up taking. So you're going to put in your information here. And like I said, the reason that you're keeping track of your information as you go along is our team of financial advisors, loan officers. At Wise Guys and Ties, we have an entire support staff that helps hold your hand through this process, because this is only step 1 of 7 steps. We go through an entire thing of building business credit where you can get access to $50,000 in the next 6 to 12 months. And what it requires is you to have 14 accounts. 14 accounts reporting on your business credit reports. But we can't do that until your business is set up the right way. You establish your business reports, then you start to apply for accounts. We start to monitor your credit, and then we go through some more processes of starting and building store cards, vendor accounts, fleet credit, gas cards. And so we go through this process of getting all these different accounts reporting. And so once you have 14 accounts reporting across the board, then that's when you start to be able to get access to the cash credit, the Visas, the MasterCards, the American Expresses. What a lot of folks end up doing is they quickly set up their business and then they jump straight to getting the credit cards. And then they wonder why they're not getting loans, why they're not getting credit cards, because there's a foundational process that you have to go through. Just think about your personal self. I mean, let's say you're fresh out of high school and you have no track record, you have no credit. Are you going to get approved for a house? No, you're going to have to go through the process of building your credit. And the great thing about business credit is it just can be built so much faster than personal credit. And then so you get a business bank account. There's bank accounts out there that are, designed for big businesses, small businesses. There's many out there that actually don't have any monthly fees if you're in the startup phase, which is really good. Now, when you have a business bank account, the number one thing that's really important with that is to make sure that you do not have any overdrafts. You don't ever have any insufficient fund fees. You have positive ending bank balances, and then over time, those balances in those accounts are growing. Eventually, when you have a lot of money running through your business bank account, keeping some good balances in there is going to help your bank rating, which down the line of getting loans and larger lines of credit is going to be extremely beneficial. The last step in just the setup is getting a merchant account. Now, you may be in a business that does not require, face-to-face processing of transactions. If you're doing online sales, you're going to need to process those payments one way or another. Or you may be thinking like, okay, my business, I'm not even in the stage where I'm going to be taking payments. Wherever you're at, you still need to get it set up now, because the best thing is to dig your well before you're thirsty. So getting your merchant account set up now for that time that you actually need it, because if you wait to try to set it up when you actually need it, it's a brand new account and all of a sudden you start running some transactions, that could flag you really quickly. And so we don't want that to happen. And as you move forward in business, you may have 2 or 3 different merchant processing accounts. But you're going to go through that process. In each step of the way, we have little training videos that help you go through that to understand why it's so important. There's Square, there's PayPal, Capital Merchant Solutions, if you're a little bit higher risk industry. So wherever you're at, it's very important. And then as we finish up step 1, it's really wrapping it up, making sure that you've gone back through and checked everything. Because after you set everything up, you need to see, do all of your business records match? Are they correct? Is the business name correct? Is the address correct? Is the ownership? Is the contact information? Because there is human error. I have never gone through this process once yet where there wasn't something that needed to be corrected. It was maybe one of the officers' addresses. It was a mailing address. There was, it says street versus road when and so there's all these little things that could happen. A digit is off in the phone number. For some reason, something always happens because when you're dealing with all these different agencies and you're dealing with set information, things happen. So going back through, making sure that everything is correct, and then once everything is correct, then we will move on to the next step. And so that really wraps it up for today as far as what we had time for. I really wanted to go through the foundational steps of really setting up a credible business. What do you actually need to do? If you already have a business, maybe there's some of these steps that you need to go back and fix. Go back and do it now before you get any further along in the process. Or you're looking at starting a business. Well, let's make sure that you get it done the right way so you don't have to go back later and fix it. And then if you need help, you want to talk about it, maybe just have some questions, reach out to us. You can go over to our website, wiseguysandties.com. We have all sorts of resources on here. You can get your free 4-step guide to building business credit. All you have to do is enter in your email address there. We have a whole bunch of great new articles Joseph just put out on here, deciphering small business credit reports, 5 things to consider when using business credit cards for personal use. That's huge. You can also schedule a free 30-minute consultation right there. And the thing I love about that is, whether you're looking to get funding right now or build your business credit, you get to just pick a time. So nothing obviously for the rest of the week here, but if you look, there's still a couple of slots on Monday. Right now, we usually book up pretty quickly. I would say by tomorrow, we're going to be out of slots for the beginning of next week. But, you can pick a time that works for you. You just select your time zone, and then Joseph or myself will give you a call. You also can go over here, check out some of the books that we have, books on building business credit. And if you have been intrigued with the credit banking strategy, or maybe you have no idea what credit banking even is. Credit banking is how to use your personal finances, understand your personal finances, your personal credit the right way. How do you build credit? How do you get out of debt? How do you pay off your mortgage in 1/3 the time without increasing your income? So those books are in printing right now. So as far as on the credit banking, you can pre-order it right now, $59.99. That comes with the audiobook, the ebook, the paperback copy, plus bonus files. You're going to get a USB drive with Excel spreadsheets, budget calculators, all sorts of cool stuff. But those start shipping out September 1st. But other than that, plug into other events. You've already actually gotten scheduled for this event, so that's fantastic. Tune in for tonight, where we go over the real estate investing mastermind. So if you're intrigued with real estate, we're going to talk a little bit about real estate, but we're also going to talk about one of the easiest businesses to start now. And a lot of folks are like, okay, I got this business, or my business has been impacted. What's a great business I can start right now from home? And so how does that fit into real estate? We're going to talk about that tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I want to thank you all for being here today. For myself, Ray Fleming, and my partner, Joseph Smith, we are the Wise Guys in Ties. Reach out to us. Let us know what we can do to help you out, because we are committed to your success. We're all in this together, and we will get through this together. So I want to say, see you tonight. Good night.
Good night.
And God bless. Good night, Joseph.